seconds and counting. The guidance system will go in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Studio Classroom Worldwide. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Steve.
And my name is Hazel. And today we're having a quiz.
A quiz? Oh, no.
Oh, yes, a quiz about soccer.
Soccer. Well, that will be easy because I know everything there is to know about soccer.
Oh, really? Well, here's question number 1. How many players are on a soccer team?
Easy. 10 players.
Huh?
Plus the goalie.
Okay.
Everybody knows that.
Right. Okay, question 2. A soccer match has 2 periods. How long is each period?
45 minutes. And the periods are called halves.
Oh, very good. Question 3. What is Asia's top soccer team?
Sorry, Hazel. You're going to have to wait for that answer.
Wait? Why do we need to wait?
Because first, we need to see who wins the Asian Cup.
The Asian Cup?
That's right. Friends, turn to page 18 in your magazines, and you'll find out all about it.
Determining Asia's best. Asia's biggest soccer tournament starts today. Today, the Asian Football Confederation, AFC, begins one of the world's foremost soccer tournaments. In the AFC Asian Cup, Asia's top 16 national teams will contend to be the region's best. How it all got started. The AFC organizes the Asian Cup every 4 years. Stretching from Australia to Lebanon, this confederation is the most wide-reaching of FIFA's 6 confederations. The AFC began in 1954 with 12 participating nations. As soccer, called football in most countries, grew in popularity throughout Asia, so did the confederation.
Hi friends, and welcome to Studio Classroom. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Brandon. We're so glad that you've joined us here today for our sports article. Today we're talking about determining Asia's best. And we see the word determining there. That just means finding out something. So we're going to find out Asia's best. And we're talking about the world of soccer. This is a sports article that we have here today. And we see there in the deck, Asia's biggest soccer tournament starts today.
And we talk about soccer a lot here on Studio Classroom, and I always enjoy these articles because I don't know very much about the sport. So I hope that all of us can learn today about this special tournament. Our article begins by saying today the Asian Football Confederation, also known as the AFC, begins one of the world's foremost soccer tournaments. Now we see that word foremost there. If something is foremost, it means it's the most important or the most popular of something. So this is a very important soccer tournament, and it begins today.
That's right. And we see next in the AFC Asian Cup, Asia's top 16 national teams will contend to be the region's best. You see the word contend there. That just means that they are going to compete. So all of these teams, they are coming together to play soccer. And of course, they all want to win the tournament, so they are going to compete against one another.
So 16 national teams, that means there are 16 different countries or 16 different nations that are competing or contending against one another to try to be the champions of this tournament. Well, before we look at the tournament itself, let's learn how it all got started. It started many years ago, but we read first that the AFC organizes the Asian Cup every 4 years. Now, this sounds a little bit to me like the World Cup or the Olympic Games. It seems like a lot of these big athletic events happen every 4 years.
That's right. I was also thinking of the Olympics, Chelsea. It happens every 4 years, not something that happens every year, so it is really important to soccer fans and to the players as well. And we get a little bit more background here. We see stretching from Australia to Lebanon. This confederation is the most wide-reaching of FIFA's 6 confederations. And we see the term there, the word there, stretching. It's the idea of going from point A to point B. So it goes from Australia to Lebanon.
And you see the term FIFA there underlined. If you remember, FIFA is just the organizing body, the body of people who oversee professional soccer throughout the world. They oversee the 6 confederations, this one, of course, being the most wide-reaching as it stretches from Australia to Lebanon. Now, that is our Grammar on the Go sentence today, so let's visit Liz right now and see what she can teach us.
Hi there, friends. How are you doing today? My name is Liz, and I'm in Dubai right now, and I'll be traveling on to Qatar soon to watch FIFA's Asia Cup. According to our writer, stretching from Australia to Lebanon, this confederation is the most wide-reaching of FIFA's 6 confederations. That's our grammar tip sentence for today. And notice how the sentence begins with the phrase, stretching from Australia to Lebanon. The word stretching is normally used to talk about making something wider or longer, like if you pull the shirt, you can stretch it. But in the case of today's sentence, the writer uses stretch in a different way. Obviously, this area doesn't have arms or legs for it to stretch from Australia to Lebanon, but it's a fun way to describe how wide an area is. This creative use of stretch can be used to talk about how long something is. For example, we can say, stretching from northern Peru to the Atlantic Ocean, the Amazon River is the world's 2nd longest river. Or we can say, the Rocky Mountains of North America stretch from Alaska to Mexico. So next time when you're doing some creative writing and need to describe something wide or long, try using stretch. And if you'd like to see some other examples using stretch, you can check out today's grammar tips section in your Studio Classroom magazine. That's it for today. Time for me to head on over to Qatar. This is Liz with Grammar on the Go, signing off in Dubai. See you next time.
Thanks, Liz. Well, we've been talking about the Asian Football Confederation, and we're going to get some more history right now. We see next the AFC began in 1954 with 12 participating nations. So we see that it began a long time ago, and it has 12 participating nations. There are 12 nations that participate in this confederation.
And if you participate in something, that just means that you take part in an activity or an event. So as we see here in the beginning, when it started in 1954, there were only 12 participating nations. In other words, there were 12 countries who took part in this event, in this confederation. And now we know that today it has grown to 16 nations. So it has grown a lot over the years. There are many more participating nations today because probably it's because a lot of people love soccer around the world.
That's right.
It's a huge sport.
Soccer is so huge around the world. So many people are participating in this sport. I'm sure many of our viewers, maybe you participate in this game, or maybe you participate in some other game. But that word participate there just means that you're taking part, you're getting involved in the game.
So as soccer, which is called football in most countries, grew in popularity throughout Asia, so did the Confederation. We've kind of already talked about that a little bit. Now, Brandon, I have a question for you. Have you ever participated in soccer or football? Now, we know that soccer is called football in most countries, but in the country we come from, America, there's something else called football, right?
That's right. I've never participated in soccer, which is called football in most nations, but I have participated in American football, which is very different from soccer. American football, of course, you actually throw the ball with your hand, and it's mostly played in America.
And with American football, you wear a lot of padding on you because it's often very large men who are running into each other and falling over on the ground. So it's quite different than soccer, which is kicked. It's a ball that's kicked with the foot primarily, and the players don't wear padding. So quite different. But we do know that soccer is very, very popular, not just throughout Asia, as we see here, but also throughout the entire world. In fact, we've learned before at Studio Classroom that it is the most popular sport in the world. And so it's no wonder that it is popular in Asia as well. Well, right now we're going to take a break, but before we do, let's visit the chat room.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Ken. Did you go to the grocery store?
No, I bought these at the farmer's market.
Oh, the farmer's market in town is really good. I love buying fresh vegetables.
I do too. I also like it that it is right outside the town. But you know, the market can be really loud sometimes.
Well, do you know why it is that way?
It is because all of the vendors want my business. They always content for my business.
Ken, do you mean to say contend for your business?
Contend for my business? Is that how you pronounce that word?
Yes. The stress is on the second syllable, contend. If you say content, people might think you're referring to content, C-O-N-T-E-N-T.
Wait, isn't that word pronounced content?
Well, that's using it as an adjective. To be content means to be satisfied.
Well, I'm satisfied once I buy the food.
Yes, but are the vendors trying to satisfy you or convince you to buy their food?
Well, when they're yelling, it is so that, I will buy their food.
Right. So they contend for your business. But a baby is content when he is fed.
That makes sense. So contend means to win something?
That's right. To contend is to compete to win something. And when we say someone had to contend with something, we mean they had to fight in order to win. For example, the child had to contend with the dog for the rope. The child had to fight the dog for the rope.
I like that. Spain and Holland's soccer teams had to contend for the World Cup last year.
Good example. And now here's a sentence using content. The child was content playing with the babysitter while her parents were away.
Okay, that makes sense. Next time I go to the market, I will know who is contending for my business by how loud the market is. Thanks, Rachel.
No problem.
这两个字要分清楚 ，contend 跟 content. 课文中我们看到 Asia's top 16 national teams will contend to be the region's best. Contend, C-O-N-T-E-N-D 表示竞争，亚洲16个顶尖国家代表队要来争夺亚洲第一。Contend 呢，常常用在片语 contend for something， 就是为了某样东西争夺。在夜市或者市场有许多的摊贩会 contend for your business， 彼此抢生意。那在一场比赛，参赛者呢会 contend for the prize， 互相争夺那个奖品。那另外一个字呢是 content， C-O-N-T-E-N-T， content 是满足的。He is not content with his job. 他不满足他的工作。那这个字还有另外一个发音 content 重音在前面。那这个是当名词用。Content 表示内容，尤其是容器的内容或者书籍文件的内容。比如说 The contents of the bag are missing. 手提袋里面的东西不见了。好，我们休息一下，稍后还有更精彩的空中英语教室。
Welcome back, everyone. We're learning about the Asian Cup.
Right. It's one of the world's foremost soccer tournaments.
And it starts today. 16 teams will contend to be the world's best.
Right. If you love soccer, you'll love the Asian Cup.
And you'll love today's lesson.
So let's continue down on line 14.
Determining Asia's best. Today, the AFC claims 46 member nations, representing over half the world's population. AFC tournaments started in Hong Kong in 1956, with Korea Republic winning the first two. In the 1960s, victories shifted to the Middle East, where they stayed until the 1990s. Japan brought triumph back to the Far East in 1992, winning 3 of the next 4 championships. Who will win this year's Asian Cup? The next 32 games will answer that.
Well, we've been talking again about soccer today, and we've particularly been talking about the AFC, and we continue with today. The AFC claims 46 member nations, representing over half the world's population. We have the word representing there. You can think of players that go and represent their team. They go and they play for their particular country. So there are many nations that are involved in this whole confederation, but only 16 countries are actually represented at this tournament.
I think it's really fascinating that these 46 member nations make up over half of the world's population. So we know that Asia is very populated, and these soccer players, it's a very big sport there. And so it's very interesting that over half the world's population is represented in this portion of the world.
That's right, and it gives us an idea of how big this sport really is, because there are so many nations involved and there are so many people who are playing. We see next, AFC tournament started in Hong Kong in 1956, with Korea Republic winning the first 2. So we see there a little bit of the background and who won these tournaments. And it continues with, in the 1960s, victories shifted to the Middle East. And we see the word shifted there. That just simply means it moved. It moved from one place to another.
So although this all got started in 1954, it took a couple of years before they were actually playing tournament games, and we do see that the victory shifted from one part of Asia to another part of Asia, and they have been in the Middle East, the champions, from the 1960s through the 1990s. But then we see that Japan shows up, and they brought triumph back to the Far East in 1992, and it goes on to tell us, Brandon, how many tournaments did they win?
Well, we see there that winning 3 of the next 4 championships. So there were 4 championships there, and they actually won 3 of them. So we know that they were a very good team. And we see the question, who will win this year's Asian Cup? And maybe you're thinking the same thing. Who is going to win? Well, we have to wait and find out.
You know, as I said at the beginning of this program, I don't know very much about soccer, but I have to admit, over the last year, I've gotten very interested in it. I watched a lot of the World Cup that took place in South Africa, and so who knows, maybe I'll find myself tuning in to some of these AFC games here for determining Asia's best. I'm kind of curious to know who the champions are going to be this year as well.
I'm also curious, Chelsea. I've not been that into soccer before, but as you said, the World Cup that recently occurred, it kind of got me into soccer a little bit. And so I'm interested to see who is going to win this tournament. And we see that the next 32 games will answer that. And so we have to wait and see who will win. We have to watch each of the games and see who will come out on top.
So we have 16 teams from 16 different nations, and once these teams qualify for this tournament, there are 32 games total that are played. Now that does not mean that every single team plays 32 games, as we'll see in our next section tomorrow, but there are 32 games that have to be played in order to determine who is going to be the champion of this tournament.
That's right, Chelsea. So we've learned today how this tournament all got started. We learned that soccer is really popular around the world, and maybe many of our viewers, maybe you play soccer, so you're very interested in this particular article. Well, we hope that you will continue to follow this story and find out who is going to actually win this tournament. We hope that today that you have learned some new words that can help you talk about this subject in English, especially using the word participate. That is an important word to remember today. You participate in a sport, and you can participate in many different activities. And we hope that you will participate in watching these games this year.
In fact, if you like to participate in a sport, why don't you write us and tell us about it at letters@studioclassroom.com. We would love to hear the sports that you participate in. Perhaps you're even a person who enjoys playing soccer. If that's you, then let us know about it and let us know how you got involved in that sport.
That's right, Chelsea. And if you look on page 18, you'll find that you'll see players both from the UAE and Malaysia. They played in the Asian Cup qualifying match, and the UAE won that game, and that earned them a spot in the 2011 Asia Cup final. So you can look for the UAE in this tournament.
So it'll be interesting to see who wins this year's tournament. Perhaps it will be the United Arab Emirates. Who knows? It might be somebody else. All we know is that there are 16 teams who have been practicing and getting ready for a long time for this big tournament that takes place in Asia. We have plenty more to tell you about this tournament tomorrow. We hope you've enjoyed our article today, and we will go to Michelle to learn her language tips before we go today. So we'll see you next time back here on Studio Classroom. Have a great day.
嗨，大家好，我是 Michelle。这篇文章的第一个重点，我们看 foremost 这个形容词 ，F-O-R-E 这个字首有之前的意思 ，most 这个字尾是指最高级，所以 foremost 是指最重要的或者是最著名的。例如 ，When Henry was accepted by one of the foremost colleges in the U.S., his whole family was thrilled. 当美国最著名的大学之一接受了 Henry 的入学申请时，全家人都兴奋得不得了。或者是 Sherry is one of the foremost biochemists of the country. Sherry 是国内最优秀的生物学家之一。继续我们看的是 represent 这个动词 ，represent 是指代表。例如 Jeffrey is representing his school in the national math contest. Jeffrey 代表他的学校参加全国性的数学比赛。或者是 the defendant hired a famous lawyer to represent him in court. 被告聘请了一位有名的律师代表他出庭。Represent 也指象征或表示，例如 Red roses often represent love. 红玫瑰常常象征着爱情。最后我们看的是 shift 这个动词 ，shift 是指转移或转换。例如 She shifted her weight from one foot to the other so she wouldn't feel tired. 她把身体的重量从一只脚换到另外一只脚，这样就不会觉得累。或者是He tried to shift his focus from his terrible breakup with Nancy to his job. 他试着把焦点从和 Nancy 痛苦的分手转移到工作上。And don't shift your attention to anywhere else. Stay tuned for more.
Determining Asia's best. This is Bill with Steve on Studio Classroom Recap, and we're talking about the Asian Cup, the soccer tournament that's going to be held in Qatar.
Okay. You know, the World Cup wasn't too long ago, and we're talking about soccer again, pal.
Yeah, I know.
We can't get away from it.
It's everywhere.
It
In
seems
fact,
that way.
It is everywhere. Soccer, or football as most of the world calls it, is the world's most popular sport. So part of the reason is that it is so affordable. Anybody can play soccer, and you don't need a lot of equipment. You just need a ball and a place to play.
I have to confess, I wish I enjoyed this sport more than I do. I don't really watch it too much. I do enjoy the World Cup, and I watch those championship games, but as far as the regular season goes, it's not really something that captures my interest.
I really enjoy the World Cup. I do watch that, and I will watch English Premier League soccer.
Really?
So I'll watch the teams from England play because that's what I can get here. And you know, as an American, you know, most people are not used to watching soccer a lot, but I've gotten into it recently and understand the flow of the game. What I really like about soccer is that it actually can be a co-ed sport, Steve. And in the United States, it's very popular with boys. But also, what I love about this is it's a great opportunity for girls to get involved in athletics and a team sport. And there's a couple things that I think are great lessons and great things for girls.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Anytime anybody, any child can play a sport, they're going to learn life lessons about winning, how to win with dignity, how to lose with dignity, all kinds of interrelational skills they can develop on a team. It's good.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So you learn teamwork, you learn how to deal with teammates and coaches and things like that. We're going to talk more about determining Asia's best tomorrow, so come on back tomorrow, listeners.
Determining Asia's best. Asia's biggest soccer tournament starts today. Today, the Asian Football Confederation, AFC, begins one of the world's foremost soccer tournaments. In the AFC Asian Cup, Asia's top 16 national teams will contend to be the region's best. How it all got started. The AFC organizes the Asian Cup every 4 years. Stretching from Australia to Lebanon, this confederation is the most wide-reaching of FIFA's 6 confederations. The AFC began in 1954 with 12 participating nations. As soccer, called football in most countries, grew in popularity throughout Asia, so did the confederation. Today, the AFC claims 46 member nations, representing over half the world's population. AFC tournaments started in Hong Kong in 1956, with Korea Republic winning the first 2. In the 1960s, victories shifted to the Middle East, where they stayed until the 1990s. Japan brought triumph back to the Far East in 1992, winning 3 of the next 4 championships. Who will win this year's Asian Cup? The next 32 games will answer that.
Well, here we are learning about the Asian Cup.
Right. This article will tell you everything you've ever wanted to know.
Well, everything except who the winning team will be.
Oh, right. Friends, you'll have to watch the Asian Cup to find that out.
Yes. Enjoy watching the games and enjoy watching Studio Classroom. See you next time.
Goodbye, friends.